Welcome back. You're listening to The Kathleen Show, and this is the program where we shake things up and rattle some cages when it comes to our lives and our health. And our next guest is definitely a force to be reckoned with when it comes to Lyme disease and the world of film. As most of you know, my best friend Michelle has Lyme, but what you may not know is that my husband was also recently diagnosed. And if you or a loved one is dealing with this disease, you're probably, like me, running into many more questions than answers. Andy Abrams Wilson is the director of the provocative new film Under Our Skin. Andy is an Emmy-nominated producer, director, and cinematographer whose films have graced the screens of HBO, PBS, and the Sundance Channel. And the website for the film, where you can see a great trailer, is underourskin.com. Andy, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
You know, why did you decide to make a film about Lyme disease?
Well, that's always the first question that people ask, and I think the assumption behind that is why in the world would anybody want to make a film about Lyme disease? And it's a valid question because people don't know a lot about it. People don't think it's a very, very serious issue. And I was one of those people. The background is that my twin sister had Lyme disease years ago. She lives in upstate New York. And all I remember was that she was sort of sick and tired, and she was always on the couch asking for food and drink. And I remember she was going to doctors and couldn't get help, and they were saying that there's really nothing wrong that they can find. And I just thought she was sort of just starting to lose her marbles a little bit. And then I just remember that she did finally get a Lyme diagnosis, and that was sort of it. And so that was my understanding of Lyme disease. It was not something that I took seriously or that I thought was very serious. And then about 8 years later in California, which is where I live, in Northern California, the San Francisco Bay Area, a friend of mine here got very sick with mysterious symptoms, cognitive, neurologic problems. She was diagnosed with MS and then ALS, which is basically a death sentence. And, of course, all her friends were gathered round and rallied to her side and really thought that was it, that she was just going to sort of fade away. And then she finally got a third opinion or a 10th opinion, or, I don't know how many doctors down the road, because it's usually many. And she was diagnosed with Lyme disease and started to get treated for Lyme disease and started to get better. So I was shocked that Lyme disease could do that to you. I had no idea that it was that serious. And as I began to look deeper into the issue, I saw that this is not an isolated incident, that this story is repeated hundreds, thousands-fold throughout the country. People who go with chronic symptoms, degenerative symptoms often, and get sicker and sicker, and they're not taken seriously. They're told it's all in their head, and they don't get help. So it was a story that needed to be told, both from a sort of perspective of compassion for the people who are suffering, but also a deep curiosity for the issue itself. And I imagine you probably want to talk more about that as we...
Well, yeah, I want to mention, I know you mentioned your friend was first diagnosed with MS, and my best friend was as well. I mean, she had the brain lesions, she had the MRI showing it, and then, ultimately ended up being Lyme, got treated, the lesions went away. It just, the whole thing is so baffling. But can we back up just a second for anybody who might be listening who might not know what Lyme disease is? Can you just give us the one or two liner on it?
Yes. Lyme disease is caused by an infection of bacteria that are called spirochetes, and they're called spirochetes because they're spiral-shaped, and they can actually drill through tissue and enter the central nervous system. They don't just stay in the blood. And there's another sort of famous spirochete that we all have heard of, and that's syphilis.
Syphilis.
So it's a cousin of syphilis, and actually has a very similar trajectory in the body in terms of how it affects us.
And you basically get Lyme from getting bit most often by a deer tick. That's
correct.
Okay.
Although there is certainly question as to whether sexual transmission occurs, and it's pretty well documented that transmission from mother to child in utero also occurs.
That was the thing that scared the living daylights out of me. Obviously, with my husband just being diagnosed, I was so shocked to see in your film that there's more and more evidence showing that, it can be sexually transmitted.
Or it may be.
Or it may be, right. Okay, you know what? We're already running up against the clock. This is the Kathleen Show, and we're heading to a break. Don't forget to check out the film website at underourskin.com. We'll be right back.
It's me, Dave Durbin. I play Katherine Heigl's Snake of a Boss in Kathleen Slattery Moscow's movie Side Effects. But in real life, I'm a nice guy. And you can check me out, and Katherine Heigl, in stores everywhere at the end of March. In the meantime, catch the Side Effects trailer at theKathleenShow.com.
Welcome back. I'm Kathleen Slattery Moscow, and I'm talking today with Andy Abrams Wilson, the director of the provocative new film Under Our Skin, which sheds light on all of the very personal and political issues surrounding Lyme disease.